Let me show you the single scariest chart if you don't own a home. According to National Association of Realtors, the median net worth of an owner is $430,000. The median net worth of a renter is only $10,000. That is a whopping 4,300% gap, and it's growing. And despite this, we have more and more people out there trying to convince others that renting is actually better than owning a home. So naturally, everyone is confused. Should I buy? Should I rent? Is the market going to crash? We're going to talk about all of it in today's video, and I'll tell you 5 crucial things that people almost never talk about when it comes to buy versus rent debate. Let's get into the video. You may be wondering why it's so hard to own a home. You did everything you were supposed to do. You went to college, you got that precious degree, you got a job, and now you're busting your tail and hustling, and you still can't afford anything. Why is it so difficult, right? Well, it's only difficult because you do not have help. You have no assets. You're trying to build wealth using your own labor only. And let me tell you, trying to build wealth on just a salary is like trying to win a Formula 1 race on a bicycle. It ain't going to work. You need a vehicle that can do the heavy lifting for you, which brings us to the absolute numero uno thing that people do not talk about in the rent versus own debate, which is that assets equals wealth, and the house is an asset. Throughout history, housing has been the on-ramp to capitalism for everyday Americans, and the government knows that. You cannot have a functioning and prosperous system if the actual members of the society aren't participating in it. And that is what the American dream actually was all about. The home ownership provided economic mobility by turning your hard-earned income into this lasting asset that grows in value over time. Everyone in this society needs help to get on the capitalism playing field. And housing is the most passive, no skill required asset that gets you into the game. It provides economic security and builds you a nest egg, all while you're just living your life. And that brings us to the point number 2, the risk profile. What is the biggest risk for a regular working class American? Do you know? It's not the stock market crashing. For a regular American, the biggest risk is not having your paycheck to cover your basic expenses. In other words, if you make $50,000 a year and your expenses are $45,000 a year, your biggest risk that those expenses are gonna grow so big that your salary just cannot keep up with it. And this happens in 2 ways. Either your wage stagnates or inflation causes costs to skyrocket faster than your boss is willing to give you a raise. Given this reality, your main objective in life has to be to mitigate the specific risk without gambling on stability. Because let's be honest, stability is everything when you aren't rich. It's easy to gamble on some Farcoin when you have $1 million to lose. It's a lot harder when you only have $10,000 in savings. That $10,000 cannot be put at risk. It needs to be somewhere where it's safe, where it can grow. That is where housing comes into the play, right? It's the most suitable investment for the average American who desperately needs stability, but also needs to grow their equity. Which brings us to the point number 3, which is suitability. As we already discussed, if you're a regular working class American, your biggest risk is inflation and wage stagnation. We also said that stability is super important to someone in the beginning stage of wealth accumulation. Now look at this chart. This is the rent inflation index. Historically speaking, rents have only gone in one direction, which is up. Renting does not solve your stability problem, and it certainly doesn't protect you from inflation, and you need both. So listen to this, because this is the part that everyone needs to realize. Homeowners lock in their housing costs for decades to come. At the same time, home values tend to go up with inflation. Do you understand the math? Let me repeat it. When prices go up, homeowners do not feel the housing inflation because their mortgage payment is locked in. Meanwhile, their equity in their house is growing, acting as a shield to protect them. The best example of it was COVID. If you owned a house before 2020, the high inflation COVID era was actually a golden age for you and your net worth. It didn't really hurt you, it literally made you richer. That era pushed middle class people into the upper middle class people. We have people today who locked in 2 to 4% interest rates between 2010 and 2022. They're sitting there paying $1,500 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2,000 square feet house, while the current middle class is forced to rent studio apartments for $2,000 a month. And once that mortgage is paid off, you remove your biggest expense entirely. Instant wealth boost. That immediately improves your cash flow, leaving you with more discretionary income to spend or invest. Okay, so do you remember when in the beginning of the video I said that assets equals wealth? Well, keep that in mind as we're going to the point number 4, which is leverage. In the simple napkin math terms, leverage is what you put in versus what you get out. And everyone online talks about it, right? Oh, you can buy a $500,000 property with only $25,000 down, right? Now, what people do not talk about is that leverage has a disproportionately different impact for lower wealth households compared to the higher wealth households. Let's make it real with some numbers, okay? Imagine 2 households, household A and household B. Household A has a net worth of $1 million and the household B has a net worth of $30,000. Both households decide to buy a $500,000 home in the exact same neighborhood. Both put down 5%, which is $25,000. Let's fast forward a year. The housing market had a boring flat year and both homes appreciated just 3%, basically, matching inflation. That's a $15,000 gain in equity for each of them. This is where it gets interesting, because for the household A, there's a $15,000 gain is a drop in the bucket, barely noticeable. It's 1.5% increase in their net worth. It's nice, but it's not life-changing. It doesn't move the needle for them. Now it's a completely different story for a household B. A $15,000 increase in their net worth is massive. It's actually a 50% increase in their total net worth. So the average savings rate in the United States is roughly 4%, and the median household income is about $84,000. So for a household that typically manages to save maybe $3,500 a year, a $15,000 annual gain from doing literally nothing but living in their house is life-changing. That is equivalent of almost 5 years of hard savings because of the leverage. And this leads us to the final point number 5, which is system-wide incentives. Guys, the system is explicitly designed to protect asset owners, and homeowners are asset owners. Because of that, they are entitled to perks, loopholes, and other protections that renters will just never see. Homeowners get homestead exemptions, assessment caps, and creditor protection. When they sell their primary residence, they pay 0 capital gains tax on the first $250,000 of profit, and if you're married, the limit is $500,000. Now, mortgage interest, tax deductible. Property taxes, tax deductible. Interest on home equity loans for improvement, tax deductible. And if the economy crashes, the government immediately steps in to protect housing. During COVID, they launched American Rescue Plan. Mortgage forbearance, loan modifications, halted foreclosures, and practically begged people to refinance at lower rates. The government will move heaven and earth to make sure homeowners don't lose their shirts because it is a massive risk to the system itself. Renters, on the other hand, they get eviction notice. And let's not forget the most overlooked benefit of all, which is credit. Making a mortgage payment every month builds your credit history, which is 35% of your total score. It also diversifies your credit mix, and every payment knocks down your principal balance down, boosting your score even further. Eventually, you don't even need a credit score because you can just borrow against the equity in the house itself. So these are the real things you have to talk about when you're deciding between renting and buying. Now, if you're watching this and screaming at your screen, "Hey,
I don't know if you noticed, but regular people can't afford homes anymore."
I hear you. I understand this.
this video is for someone who can afford a house and is thinking about what decision is the best for them at the moment. I rarely hear people talking about these 5 major considerations, so I want you to be armed with this knowledge, and more importantly, I want you to understand that we live in a capitalistic machine where the only goal that matters is asset accumulation. While renting might be the only affordable option you have right now, owning a piece of the pie should always be the ultimate goal. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button and subscribe, and let me know in the comment section down below, how are you navigating this mess?